the all electric cars, where we're debating is zero emissions versus emissions, right? So in the world of zero emissions, hydrogen has tremendous advantages and disadvantages, as well as batteries, but they have advantages and disadvantages. So what we try to do at REVO Zero is to combine the benefit of both to offset the negatives of each independent technology.
So I would love for you to talk about REVO Zero a little bit more, because we had the opportunity to talk about this last year on the podcast, but would love for you to just give a brief overview of what you're working on, the types of vehicles that you're working on, just high-level overview of REVO Zero.
Well, REVO Zero started with one thought of mine, right? I love cars. I love everything that moves. I love motorcycles, cars, airplanes, you name it. Everything that moves, I don't know why, but I love it. And I used to have this sports car that I loved, but I always thought there's got to be a better way than just, burning fossil fuels. It makes noise, it smells bad, and let's not forget, the exhaust has over 100 toxic pollutants that 10 of them will kill you right away, and the other 10 will give you cancer. So this burning fossil fuels doesn't sound like the great solution for long term. Zero emissions would be better, right? So if you could vote on deciding, okay, are we gonna keep polluting forever or stop polluting? Forget about the atmosphere and all that stuff. That's a secondary thing we can talk later. But just what we're breathing. You have kids, by the way?
Yeah. Well, I do have Bear, the golden doodle, and I treat him like a child. So
okay.
Technically, but he also breathes air and oxygen.
Let's say you are walking on the street and you just stop there, looking at a shop, and there's a car that turns on, gasoline car, and starts throwing the smoke there in front of the duck's face. You're probably gonna just, yeah, right?
Correct.
Nature, because we don't like things that smell bad and are bad for you. So that's not the question. The question is, how can we do current lifestyle, cars that we like, without compromising? That's the other part of the equation. Everybody wants to go green as long as it doesn't change our lifestyle and it does not cost us more money.
Touché.
So that's how REVO Zero started. How we can make these cars be awesome, perform awesome, be green, don't change our lifestyles, and not cost us a lot more money, and how we can do it in a way that at the same time is convenient. That's how the thought of REVO Zero started, and that's how we developed this plug-in fuel cell technology, where we have the battery and the hydrogen fuel cell working together, getting the best of both technologies.
So how are you thinking about competition right now, right? So BEVs dominate the conversation when it comes to zero emission vehicles. They just do, right? So how are you kind of navigating that with, your partners, your, investors, with your eventually customers who are going to buy these vehicles?
Okay, this is a marathon, not a sprint, right? So we need to understand what's the goal here. The ultimate frontier of power, where we're going to eventually get as far as fuel, is what eventually makes more sense. There's always a transition. You probably remember, the DVDs and the Blu-rays and the whatever, and now we're all streaming. That makes sense.
Are you saying that BEVs are the next blockbuster?
They are a good transition tool,
Oh, then questions from the audience. I might need to take questions right now.
But it's not the ultimate frontier. Yeah, listen, hydrogen powers the universe. It powers the sun. It sends rockets to the moon. So we definitely can go to the grocery store with a little bit of hydrogen. And there's another tremendous benefit as far. First is the lightest element on the periodic table. I want to get boring here, but I like, science and physics and stuff. So it's the lightest element and the more dense. So that's just by basic logic. It powers everything in the universe. So by basic logic, we're getting all these clues that are telling us, what are you doing messing with this other stuff, right? There's a reason, which is called infrastructure, which we can address later. But there's a transition towards getting somewhere, right? So our approach is going into the final frontier on getting a solution. And again, batteries have a place. Batteries are very good for certain applications, and hydrogen is very good for certain applications. What we believe is these technologies don't have to compete. They need to coexist depending in the environment in which you are. That's why we've developed the plug-in fuel cell technology, which allows the PFC technology, which basically is a fuel cell with a rechargeable battery, and the fuel cell recharging battery. So we are, I would say, a BEV plus solution, or a BEV 0.20, whatever you want to call it. But batteries have their place, and we use them, but we make them part of the solution, not the solution.
So I love what you said about coexisting. I think that's a really, really salient point. Also, too, by the way, start thinking about questions you want to ask Ruben, because I will be calling on people. Eddie Zyko, JT Taylor. I will be calling on people for Job Paspato. All right? So, next question. We are dealing with how do we get hydrogen readily available for these vehicles? We know that EV charging infrastructure is a little bit of a cluster, has been for years. So we are dealing with two separate points, right? So how do we make this hydrogen available, right? And then on the other side of it, we are talking about the manufacturing of this vehicle. So let's take the first point here. So what is your hypothesis, or what is your working theory on how this getting hydrogen to the masses? What are you doing to facilitate this, or what are you working on with partners? This is called strategic partnerships, so we are, working with others in the industry.
Yeah, so as we said, infrastructure is key, right? A battery vehicle or a hydrogen vehicle without the infrastructure to support it, just a paper holder, it doesn't do much, right? So there's one thing of batteries. The biggest advantage of a battery bike is that you can charge it at home at an electrical price rate per kilowatt, very competitive. That's where it belongs. That's what people really use. When you go to a charger, part of the challenges of the infrastructure is that you pay $10, $15, $16 per kilowatt at your house. You go to charge somewhere and you pay like 50, 60 kilowatt. So it hurts. And people say, okay, if I can drive one extra mile to get home, they start sweating, and I'm gonna get there, but I'm gonna save 50 cents. And psychologically, that is very important. So what happens is that we believe that batteries have a place in the home, and that is for short trips and things like that, and local commuting, taking on groceries, taking the kids to school, and all that stuff. That is the world. Batteries are great, make great commuter vehicles. Now let's talk about long trips. We need to go somewhere, right? From Detroit to Chicago, or Detroit to Pennsylvania to Pittsburgh, whatever. So now we talk long trips. That is where it gets funny, right? Everybody has to become an engineer. So you gotta count the miles, you gotta count these, where are the chargers, blah, 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 blah. Overwhelming. That's a challenge of the issue. So that is where hydrogen shines. And the way that it shines is because with a very little amount of hydrogen, few pounds, like, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, you can drive for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles without having to worry about refueling, things like that, right? So how do you get the infrastructure in place? We're building the infrastructure. We're building a hydrogen refueling network nationwide. And we're doing it by installing the dispensers across highways across main roads, 20 to 50 miles from each other. You don't need them on every corner because for local commuting, you're good with your battery. For long trips, you just need them along your way. Our Model Energy, which is our large SUV, it's already available for pre-order, expected to go through the certification process or homologation process very soon, and hopefully be available in the market. That combines a rechargeable battery and a hydrogen fuel cell capable of a total range of 700 miles. With 700 miles, it's not range anxiety, it's bladder anxiety. So, because you need to stop once in a while, anyway, right? So by eliminating range anxiety, by having so many miles available to you, you eliminate that anxiety, and then you don't need as many locations. That's what is allowing us to build this network with few sites than other type of networks. And the hydrogen that is being dispensed in these sites, we produce the hydrogen as well. There's two schools of thoughts on this industry, macro sites or micro sites. We believe in the micro, small production close to the dispensers, so that way you have the thing already very close to each other.
Okay, so I know I have a ton of questions. Anyone right now have any questions in the audience? Ruben is saying a lot of things. JT, please take a question. Freya, we need to get a mic over to JT. Here we go. JT, thank you for your question.
Great line of thought. We agree wholeheartedly with where you're going with this and your historical backup of the direction you would take the company in order to have the product development cycle go is fantastic. Who is funding your work so far?
Oh, good question. Yes.
Yeah, so far we're a group of entrepreneurs that we got very successful past lives, I would say, and we put our resources together. We are self-funded at this point. We are expected to hit the VC round at some point soon, but we're trying to wait as much as we can. Within our board, there's people I don't know if you know the name, for Harry Cobbs, led global publicly traded companies. We have the Levines, Bon Verde, Deputy Vice President of the Department of Commerce on Obama's administration, and so forth. So we have a big group of successful believers, and we've decided to self-fund the project up to this point, and eventually we'll go for VC. But when we're ready, if we go too early, any of here have gone to the VC route, you know how it works, right?
That was a great question. I actually have a follow-up question to this. So what are your plans? We have a lot of talks about tariffs. Where are you you're planning on manufacturing this vehicle?
Well, this is an American vehicle. It's being designed in Texas, but we're in discussions with a couple of production lines here next door in Detroit. We believe that Detroit has great talent, great facilities. I've been here many times. We picked some of our partners that have the capacity to build a very high quality product. And yeah, we want to give a Detroit 2.0, or however you want to call it, but we want to build it here in American Detroit.
All right, get ready. It's going to be the Detroit 4 very soon. Okay, any other questions? Really quick. I did see another hand over here. Yes, question. Frey, if you can grab the mic. Yes.
This seems you're talking about this new process. Would the ag industry be a key area? They have to go a long distance. You could probably
Agriculture.
Oh. Well, eventually it will get there, but there's one thing with hydrogen, and that's why batteries and hydrogen combined are good. Creating hydrogen requires electricity, green hydrogen. It's important to point, or clean hydrogen as the new definition of the Department of Energy, but it's very important to point that 95% of the hydrogen that is made today is not green. It comes from fossil fuel sources, unperformed methane stuff. Anyway, we are producing green hydrogen out of splitting water and using electricity for it. So because we need to do that process and transport the hydrogen, the price of hydrogen is slightly higher than the price of only electricity. It's like a chicken sandwich should always be more expensive than just chicken, right? So hydrogen, even though comparable to the cost of gasoline or diesel, is not at the same price than just pure electricity, because it's electricity plus something. So that will come down. What we're doing is we're teaming up with existing green energy sources, like for instance hydroelectric plants. We just signed a deal talking with partnerships with Hedora, solar facilities all over the south, hydroelectric facilities in the north. That allow us to get really competitive cost of electricity and really low price of hydrogen. On the industrial side, you need to be very price competitive. Everybody wants to go green as long as it doesn't cost you a penny more. That's super true in the commercial side. The consumer side is different because we're driven by emotions, right? Otherwise, we will go with bicycles or something. But you know, the price of something in the consumer side has more flexibility. On the commercial side has less. So when price of fuel gets super competitive is when it would make the jump into that scenario. And I think that not everybody thinks that. Other companies think they could go right now.
No, that was a great point. Any other questions? Yeah, no, yes. You've given us so many things to think about, so I actually want to ask this because I'm really interested in your point of view here. Your vision for a hydrogen future. So you're very, very clear on maybe this BEV plus world that we can we get, is there a trademark attorney present, or like can we trademark BEV plus, or
well, we call it TFC, plug-in fuel cell, and we have the trademark for that.
Okay, all right, good, all right. Well, I want to also think about how do you see this evolving over the next decade, right? We're not talking about this is happening this year or next year. Again, you had mentioned at the beginning, this is a marathon. So talk to me a little bit more about your long-term vision. Where is this yellow brick road leading us to? Is it Oz or some other place?
Well, it will take a little bit of time to build a network, and at the same time, we're going through the process of designing and going through the homologation, making changes. So we're talking a few years down the road, but ideally, we would like to see in the next 4 or 5 years a density of these dispensers, and hopefully getting all the certification process completed and being able to provide the cars to the consumer market. We are starting on the East Coast. We're starting in the Northeast. We have a big cluster. We already signed an agreement with a company called Apports. Used to be former Pan American. You probably remember Pan Am. Got acquired, and it's under Goldman Sachs now, and they changed the name to Apports anyway. So they have a lot of airports all over the place. We signed an agreement with them to install these dispensers in their facilities, not only for our vehicles in the future, but for their vehicles in the airport operations. They're using Toyota Mirais and things like that, right? So we expect to grow from the Northeast to down to Florida and do the Eastern Florida. That's our first objective. And we think that in the next 2-3 years, probably we could have good density. Remember, we only need one of these dispensers every 50 miles. So we don't need that many. So if you come north to south, probably with 50 or 60, we can get it done. It's not talking about thousands here, right?
Okay, so question for you about actual sales and distribution. I was just thinking about this as you were talking. You're going to be direct to consumer, or are you going to, dare I say, use the dealer network? Dealers aren't ready for this. Are they? I don't know.
We have,
I don't know.
we have our thoughts. I guess it's going to be depending the state. But
Okay, so state by state. Or,
yeah, well, every state has its own regulations. But yeah, we like a lot the online model, and that's probably.
do you know when potentially folks can go and reserve a vehicle?
It's already, the pre-order's already open,
Oh, get ready. Everybody go on the website.
and we already have, believe it or not, not only ton of pre-orders here in the U.S., but we got surprisingly a bunch of pre-orders in Europe.
Really?
And in fact, in 2 weeks, I'm going to Europe. We signed an agreement with a company in Spain to start building a network there, a company in Belgium. And in parallel, we found European investors that are interested to fund the European network on a joint venture. So our main focus is the United States, but we're going to be working United States and Europe in parallel at the same time.
In tandem. Whoa, interesting. I know I said that was my last question, but I actually lied and it wasn't. Anything else from the audience here? Again, we've got a lot of stuff from Ruben. Oh, did you want to ask him a question? You're going to have him on your podcast next, aren't you? I know that's coming up next, my friend. I knew it. Everyone else?
Thing I forgot to mention.
Yes.
The vehicle is being designed to be certified or going through homologation here in the U.S. and Europe. So it's designed at the same time to fit the requirements of both markets.
Of those. Man, that must be a tangled spider web of all kinds of regulations. Now we're talking about tariffs and
U.S. is easy.
Europe startup is a little bit more of a okay, interesting. Well, good thing that you work with a lot of smart people, right?
Yeah, I think that's the secret. I'm the CEO, and when I tell my team is, listen, when you're good for nothing, you're good to be the CEO, because if you're really good with something, you're very smart, you would be doing it, right? So yeah, we have super talented people and super smart, and everybody believes 100% in the vision.
So, last question I'll ask for you. Who are you hoping to cross paths with here at AutoTech? Is it someone that can help you with the hydrogen infrastructure side? Someone maybe on the investment side? Like, who are your wish list? Let's manifest this into reality here, Ruben. Let's go.
The part that we're working now and we think is the most interesting is the software part of the user interface.
Oh, dang, this is the best place for you to meet.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm very excited, because at the end of the day, what is under the hood, people never look at it or want to know anything about it. People get in a car, they want to see it's comfy, they want to see the buttons, the colors, the switches, the things. So we want to make it good for the consumer, a good experience that they feel like, oh wow, this is a Benz. Doesn't matter how advanced the under the hood is. People, when you buy a car, they sit in it, and that is what tells them, is this a good car or a bad car, right? So we want to be sure we have the top-notch features and software and displays, and that thing changes so fast. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, you're definitely in good company here. Everyone, please give a warm round of applause for Ruben Creus. Please ask him questions afterwards.